Said it. And then
Right. Let's go. We're live, guys. Hello. How are we doing
now we
today?
sound live.
Huh?
How are we doing? We want to talk
I just
about
told you.
people, right?
I just, yeah. Well, if you want to talk about people, I'm a person.
You're a person. Yeah, you're definitely a person. That's for sure.
I mean, I think with Dave that might be a bit debatable, but
Well,
close enough.
yeah.
He counts for two, you know.
Oh,
Hey,
all
hey,
right
no, that's
now.
now
The
that's
fat
that's
jokes
just
are out.
that's just mean. So like, you know, if we're doing that, does that mean you count for half a person then?
I do, yeah.
So David so David makes up for you.
Exactly. That's why it's a perfect combination.
Yeah, two and a half men. Is that what we're talking
Hell
here?
yeah. Well, two full men. Like, I don't have the hearing
Yeah,
you do.
but
I don't have the way
yeah,
you
but
do.
between
Full concept.
between the two of you, you make two full guys.
Yeah,
two
exactly.
or two Fall Guys. Is it Fall Guys or Full Guys?
Talking about the game.
Video game? Huh?
No, Fall Guys. Well, you call a person a Fall Guy, don't you, if they take the blame for things?
Oh yeah. That's a
Oh
fun.
yeah. That's
What are we blaming you for? I mean, it is a video
I
game.
don't.
as well.
You can blame me for everything, mate. Could just blame me for
Nah,
all the shit that goes down in this world.
Nah, bro. We ain't doing that.
But anyway,
I mean, we
digress.
do it off air.
Yeah, well, that's it exactly. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
no holds barred off here.
It's like I stubbed my toe against the table, like, this must have been Davis.
Yes, absolutely.
David, why'd you put the
Dave.
fucking table? Eh?
Why did you put that table there, fucker? But anyway. Cool. So we wanted to talk about people today then. So what was your thoughts?
Well, I kind of think about books, right? 'Cause I read a lot of books. And books are kind of like a message to the future for whoever will read it. 'Cause letters are just like private, right? But books are like, you put all of your thoughts into like a work, and whoever reads it, reads it. It's like an open letter
Right?
for those that are interested, kind of idea, right?
Yeah.
And I think I've already spoken about Mara Wollstonecraft before. Like her life, her father, for example, an alcoholic, and that's something that she had to deal with growing up. And for example, Nietzsche as well, losing his father at 5, and then, well, he was definitely one of the geniuses already early on, considering he got a professorship.
Is that why he's obsessed about his mum?
What do you mean?
Oh wait, no, it's not Nietzsche. It was
That's not Nietzsche, no?
Yeah.
Freud.
So
No, it's Freud. Yeah, no, I got my geniuses mixed up. Ignore me.
is Freud not a psychologist? He's not exactly. Well, he's a genius in a sense, but you
No,
know,
I
he's
was.
not
Yeah,
a
I'm just
psychologist.
in the context of the conversation.
Right.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
take us back a bit then. Who's Nietzsche? Nietzsche.
Oh, come
Nietzsche.
on. Everyone knows what Friedrich Nietzsche
No,
is.
well, maybe not. Maybe people tuning
Well,
in might not be
for,
aware.
for the idiots among us, you
I
know,
mean, that's not our target audience, but sure. Friedrich Nietzsche, the great philosopher of the 19th century, wrote multiple books. One of the most famous one, here comes Thus Comes Zarathustra. I think if you think about self and the individual and how, like, you have a lot of like look maxing and stuff like that, right? It's a very
Oh, I hate that
Nietzschean
stuff.
idea, because the Nietzschean idea is all about maximizing your own
Ubermensch.
performance.
Is it the Ubermensch?
That's part of it, yeah, but it's like the maximization of your own performance, the individual, is very Nietzschean. It comes like from multiple of his ideas.
Right.
That's kind of like how I would explain him, like the individual as you see him today. So the look maxers are just people maxing out everything that they can. Like think about CEOs, for example, doing podcasts and everything has a schedule. It's very Nietzschean to get the absolute maximum out of yourself. It's also very unhealthy, as we know.
Yeah, it takes it to its logical extreme.
Exactly.
Well,
That's
I'm
kind of
hearing
the
people
thing.
like taking hammers to their face to actually.
I've
Look good.
heard that it's like hammers. I heard of this one guy who makes himself cry all the time because he uses his tears and runs it through his hair, makes
What's
his hair lush or something like that. It's something I heard about quite
Is
recently.
this the new shampoo Head and Tears then? instead
No,
of head and shoulders.
as far as I can tell, I can't remember who the guys. I heard about it recently, like a few days ago. But this guy's one of those look Maxa type, you know, like the type who takes a hammer, breaks his bones to chisel
Wow.
his face the right way.
Bro.
But yeah, he uses his tears to fluff up his hair or something like that, like some kind of shampoo.
But that's just
I mean,
a
I
mental
don't.
issue at that stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's like taken. It's like a form of body dysmorphia, which was taken in a different direction.
Freud
You
needs
have
to
you have
intervene.
because you have ones people who like do cosmetic surgery constantly because they can never look perfect, or you get people who go the transgender route because they think they're in the wrong body, and then you get these people who literally just smash the face in, or do weird things with the bodies to look ideal, like some kind of ideal that I can't comprehend.
I don't get it. I don't get why people would want to. Like, okay, I get that people maybe are unhappy in their bodies. You know what I mean? Because I kind of am that way myself a little bit. I'm not secure with myself and my own body, but I wouldn't go to the extreme of smashing my face with a hammer to make myself look better.
I
Well,
mean,
you,
that's
you
just what
do
maxing is, right?
yeah, you do what you can with what you've been given, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so you try you try and do your best. I mean, I'm not exactly the best guy out there, but I'm doing what I can. I started working out properly, eating, going on a proper diet, that kind of thing. It's still, that kind of stuff's easy to do.
Yeah.
It's easy to do. It's hard to keep it up. I think
Yeah.
that's where a lot of people fail with it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I struggle with it, so I'm like, no, I've really got to do this. I mean, it's my cheat day tomorrow, so I'm gonna be pigging out a bit. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a good man, very important.
yeah, I took you because you mentioned it's like a little reward for you. So I was like, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So I've been good all week. I'm gonna have a reward now.
Yeah, good.
Plus, it's like while my body gets thinner, my wallet gets fatter because I'm not wasting so much money on
That is
on
very
like
true.
food.
Yeah.
Food I don't need. So it's good. There's a lot of benefits to it, but it's doing it within your means. And
What?
someone has got
Dave?
one of those spy
You good, Dave?
doorbell things.
Yep. I apologize. That is me. I'm going to
Do we
mute
need to call
that
the
just now. No, it's only motion. Don't worry about it.
It's
Oh,
no,
motion.
it's too late. He's already in the house.
Exactly. There's some horror music coming in.
Dude.
But yeah, like the
Dude.
look mac thing is very similar to like the will to power for Friedrich Nietzsche is kind of like the idea of the absolute success, right? Like performance for everything. That's kind of like something that's been very popular in like modernity as well, obviously, but even since the time of the Nazis.
Well,
Some-
isn't it like these people basically corrupt what it was originally meant and twist it to suit their
Oh,
own?
yeah.
meaning?
No, I mean, the will to power is a hard to argue because he believed personally, this is his own personal belief, right? That the main drive in humans isn't just to survive, but to grow, dominate, and achieve greatness. So that's not really a misinterpretation. It's more what do you do with that information?
Mm.
What does it mean to grow? What does it mean to dominate? What does it mean to achieve greatness?
Yeah.
For multiple people, this can mean different things.
Yeah, well, I mean, from my point of view, is your looks are not going to, well, to a degree, because if you look
Socially,
good,
yes. It gives you
sometimes,
social status.
yeah, it gives you good stories.
I mean,
yeah,
you can make yourself look better. I mean, there's makeup or products that will enhance things, but you're still basically limited by what you physically look like under it. I
Yeah.
mean, it's one of those. I mean, not to sound nasty, but I mean, someone who's like look like they fell off the ugly tree.
yeah,
You never no amount of makeup is gonna make them look.
Yeah.
They're gonna make them
I mean,
look stunning.
Natural
but
makeup is scary though. Have you ever seen natural makeup?
no,
I don't think so.
Like natural makeup, it's very difficult to tell for people who wear natural makeup whether or not that person is wearing makeup. They're getting
Right.
very good at this.
okay,
So like the growth in the makeup industry is doing an amazing up. Like you can look it up, like natural makeup. I got stuff that actually makes me fucking worry about things. It's like, bro, like no, everyone looks fake.
Ah,
That was
okay.
Nietzsche. Like Nietzsche, I mean, like when it
Well,
comes to his
you could.
life, like he became the youngest professor of philosophy of all time, right? Like at the age of
Well,
24. So he was definitely a genius in every meaning of the way. It's just that in
Yeah, I
his
mean, yeah, he
30s.
was just, he was, he was really, he really knew what he was talking about in his special subject. I'm
Yeah.
just thinking though, going back with the look maxing a bit. I mean, isn't it's kind of like a bit of Jung in there, isn't as well? Because it's like you're creating a mask, like a physical mask in a sense.
I know,
Well,
yeah.
I
Don't you
mean,
think?
to a
Yeah.
I
sense,
mean, it depends on
you
how you
want to
do
look
it.
like Action Man or,
But if you do it naturally,
Barbie.
then it's fine, right? Because, like, for example, just basically taking care of it, doing the basics. Like for example, you use a cleanser on your face and you use sunscreen and you go to the gym 3 times a week. This is the bare minimum that your body requires just to, operate properly.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone were to do that, you're not really look maxing, you're just taking care of yourself. Like I think that's the difference between
Yeah,
someone who's going all the way.
there's a difference between looks maxing and
Be
just
good to yourself.
just maintenance, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, I have been extremely lax with my maintenance ever since I left school, and I regret that. So I'm trying to fix it. So it's like I need to build up. I need to build up a bit first, and then switch to maintenance.
Yeah, I mean that's for everyone. But
Yeah.
that's Nietzsche basically. Nietzsche, like in his 30s, that's kind of like when he started suffering from migraines, near blindness, stomach issues. Like he wasn't an alcoholic or anything. They probably did like smoke perhaps, but
Well, it's a different time as well, so he may have had
yeah,
some
he
kind of
might have
illness.
like we don't fully know, but there's a chance. But he was not like someone that took bad care of himself. Like the mental problems and everything. That's something that the medical world will have to explain over that because like if you look at for John Locke, for example, he's the person who wrote the Tabula Rasa, blank slate.
Yeah.
But John Locke as well, like a very established person. Like I had ties to the Shaftesbury, so they were planning to plot against the Charles II, I believe it was. Yeah, Charles II. So Locke went to the Netherlands and lived there in exile for a few years. But generally speaking, like this was a man who studied medicine at Oxford, and he became a personal physician to the Earl of the Shaftesbury. So like these were people that like Nietzsche, proper genius, Locke, very educated, very wise man. He had ideas, blank slate as it now is known, like ended up being a bad idea because getting used in a very bad way. Like, 'cause if you actually read Tabula Rasa, it's more about the way you were born. Like, obviously, genetically speaking, it's a different ball game, but you should have equal opportunity chances, just depending on how much work you put in, and that's like the key thing, right? Because nowadays we don't take the part of putting the work in; we just take the part of everyone is equal.
I want what I can get out. of it.
You want to
Exactly.
take the credit for things you haven't done.
Exactly, because Locke championed life, liberty, and property. Which, yeah, I can agree with that. It's not really a problem. Like the social contract that he argued was, people agreed to that. That's not necessarily wrong. Like, this is where Thomas Jefferson as well, like he copy pasted it into the Declaration of Independence for America.
Yeah, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, wasn't it?
Exactly. Like these ideas were good, and these came from proper people, like David Hume, for example. Same kind of idea. Like David Hume was Scotsman. I don't know if Dave knows this. Came from Edinburgh. He was as a child, he was already considered a prodigy who went to university at the age of 12.
I don't know the
Very
name.
intelligent person.
Okay.
David Hume.
David Hume.
Well, then we can talk about Hume for a bit. Like people considered him a bit too radical for his time. Which I mean, if you're as genius as he is, then like
You're
maybe
going to
he
have
was
ideas.
he was a jolly, chubby man who loved food, wine, and high society. Like he was a polar opposite of Nietzsche almost.
He's a bit of a hedonist.
Yeah, he died of abdominal cancer, but I mean that's just like you can't really do anything about it. But
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like because you say about like doing maintenance. What was it like? Nietzsche had all of those medical problems.
yeah,
It's like sometimes you just get fucked that way. So you get
exactly.
people
The same
who
with Hume. Who gets
Mm.
yeah,
cancer?
because I didn't know that. Yeah, because you
Yeah,
get
Hume got
people
cancer.
who you get people who take absolute perfect care of their bodies, but they die young just because of some things. But then you get people who just treat, I remember this thing from the Hellboy films. It's like your body's not a temple; it's an amusement park. So
Mhm.
some
Yeah.
people treat it like an amusement park, but they live till like the 90 or something.
Yeah, I'm reading here. Statements of moral obligation cannot simply be deduced from statements of fact. So that's one of his quotes, or
I
one
mean,
of
we're
his
going to talk
theories.
about it, Dave. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I just wanted to kind of do my due diligence here and kind of look at a wee
Is
bit into him.
he basically flipped the ball on everyone. Like most philosophers, especially at the time, they thought they should use logic to control your dirty emotions. A very Christian idea, right?
Right.
But Jung flipped it and he said our desires and feelings, the passions themselves, they are what drives us. And we only use
Yeah.
reason to figure out how we get what we want. That is kind of what he is most famous for.
Right.
Yeah,
The
no, I
flipping
I,
of
I
that.
agree with that because it's like you need a balance of you need a balance of two. Because if you don't have emotion, if you don't have emotion, then you have no drive to do anything. You can become quite apathetic, or just as bad.
Yeah.
You don't factor in the human cost of
Exactly.
certain
But
projects.
do you?
But if you go in the opposite extreme and you just purely you have nothing but emotion, well, you've got no way to temper what you're feeling, so you lash out or you make ill-considered ideas and plans, which cause more damage in the long run.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Stupid
that is
question, but
one.
I mean, do your drives not change throughout your life?
That too, yeah.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
Confucianism was someone who already established that in his time. Like if you look at how he approached his own life, he's wrote down that his life was a continuous lesson, and throughout those years, he had different desires. Because at one point, he was working to be a minister and trying to get his ideas across to, at the time, the Chinese warring states. And then eventually, as he got older, he took more of a back role and tried to become a teacher instead,
Right.
which is what actually set him up for success.
Okay.
In order to bring his ideas, it didn't work to the people at the time, but it did work for the people of the future.
Mm.
And that is how China came to be, because he became a teacher over a minister. Because as a minister, you would have top-down power, but as a teacher, you have down-up power.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
one thing for Jung, like this is something that I also agree with, is the is-out problem. So he argued that you can't describe how the world is, like facts, and use that to prove how the world ought to be, which is morality, right? Just because something is natural doesn't mean it is good, and that is one of the biggest lessons that, especially in our time, we need to learn.
Oh yeah.
Despite the fact that this guy hasn't been around for a very long time. Like I said, this guy was a genius. It was all the 18th century.
Yeah.
But then, where do our ideas come from? Like, with Dostoevsky and like the sort of like the Leviathan, that people tend to desire something that just swallows everything. So I'm not going to describe the man, and I want to know whether or not you think it's a good idea to listen to what he has to say. So this man was raised basically with a silver spoon, pretty well-off family, pretty good life, went to university, had to kind of move away from there and to go somewhere else. And he became a massive alcoholic throughout his entire life. Actually, one of the reasons he died was because of he had too much damage to his liver and everything. So he was an
Cirrhosis.
alcoholic. And to his children, he was a child abuser of severe child neglect, to
Right.
the point where he cheated on his own wife with the maid, and then he denied that that child was his,
Oh.
and he pushed that child off to one of his friends.
Wow.
And eventually, that child, due to not being able to maintain himself, died out in the streets because, well, he for complete poverty. Whereas this man had a rich friend, pretty well off family, but he refused to work. So he's basically just in his home all day. Everything's small.
Was that? Wait, you're talking about Marx, sir?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
That
No,
becomes
'cause
the
it-
idea.
'cause-
Would you listen to this man for parent advice?
No.
No.
Why would you then listen to him for civilizational advice?
Probably because he was quite loquacious with his writings.
No,
And
what
if
he
it's
offered was a totalitarian idea, because all of these things that he spoke about, he wasn't the only one. If
Well-
anything, even before him,
but
England was already moving towards like new legislation and everything. Like you didn't
hold-
need more.
For me,
I'm just saying he probably just sounded intelligent.
He
so people
sounded
thought
exactly.
he-
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
well, for me, how could you, if you can't raise an individual child, how could you raise a civilization?
Exactly. And that's kind of the thing, right? Like right now, there's a lot of people who lean to communism. We already know what the death count is of communism, right?
Yeah.
But then if you take it to the source and you read from the actual autobiography of Karl Marx, it's like, so you're dealing with an alcoholic child abuser and you think it's a good idea to listen to him for advice on how the entire civilization should work. This man couldn't
Or
even take
anything
care of his own
really.
children.
Yeah.
Well, he could barely take care of himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, like his own house was a disaster. Like there were multiple reports, especially
Yeah,
from
it's
spy
it.
agencies, that
Well,
tell just how horrible his house condition was. Like
yeah,
all the
it was. It
furniture was
was.
broken. It's everything smelled, and it was alcohol smelled. It was tobacco smelled. It was horrible.
Was it like a
Yeah, it was.
hoarder?
It was. It was. Yeah, it was. It was
No, not
the only
horrible.
the only reason he's able to get as far as he did was because Engels basically carried
Exactly.
him, and I
Yeah.
don't know why. And I don't know why Engels put up with him for that long.
I have no idea either. Like especially because Engels was the one that took temporary custodian of his unwanted child with the maid.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
child
no.
was
I mean, Engels bent over backwards there to do basically do it. He I mean, he enabled Marx,
definitely.
but yeah, but I mean, what did I'm just thinking? It's like, was there some kind? Did like Marx save his life or something
Mm.
when they were
It's
younger?
hard to say. Like,
Yeah.
friendship can just be sometimes like you keep hoping for the best for a certain individual, and you keep hoping that it turns around. And he says, like, it's kind of like a broken clock is correct twice a day, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
maybe in those moments he was like, oh, he says the right things. But like I said, like there was a lot of movement from the liberal Christians,
And y-
and there was a lot of movement from the politicians. Like everything Marx spoke about when it came to the grievances of capitalism was already being addressed. Like Adam Smith, for example, before he wrote his work on the economics, he was already writing about the morals about everything.
yeah.
Like there were already so many good philosophers and good people that were already working to create a better world, and you didn't need this guy at all.
Yeah.
It's just that the idea of the totalitarian overtaking and having an absolute enemy is extremely seductive.
Right. Well, Mike said there about enablers, and I think you see it all too often about people
Yeah.
who enable, bad behaviours to be taken out, you know what I mean? Like people who condone things that shouldn't be condoned, like neglect of a
Well,
child,
yeah, I mean, well, or like abuse of a child in
Or
this
abuse of a
case, because it's
child,
like
yeah.
look at the modern day thing with all like trying to say there's transgender kids. That's enabling really bad people who shouldn't be parents. I mean, I'm normally not one for saying the government should get involved or like some kind of authority should get involved when it comes to raising kids.
Hmm.
But there are obvious times when you got to
Yeah.
make exceptions, and I think this is one of those
Well,
exceptions. And anybody who does advocate that children can be transgender, or they try to do this kind of thing to their own kids,
yeah.
should have them taken away.
Well, look at it this way, right? You can't smoke, you can't drink until you're 18 years old. You can't get into a relationship until you're 18 years old. So why should you be able to decide what kind of person you
But
choose
didn't
Because
to
England just
be?
pass a new law? I'm pretty
Body.
sure England just passed a new law that anyone born after the year 2008 is no longer allowed to purchase tobacco.
they're not
Yeah,
allowed to
yeah,
smoke.
I've seen that.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
No, it's like that all that's going to do is it's going to create it's basically prohibition 2.0. They're
Yeah.
going to make a massive
A
black
black
market for
market,
cigarettes.
of course.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they're gonna buy
here's-
vapes, right?
Well, no, I think they're going to try and include vapes as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be one of those things. I'm not a fan of smoking. I mean, I don't mind if people, I don't care if people smoke. If they want to do it, that's themselves. It's like this isn't a thing that the government needs to get involved in. It's
I
a
do to
societal
a
thing.
degree, because, like, in my personal opinion, like I like taking walks in the park, and to me, it's just like I don't want to smell your drugs addiction when I go outside. Like, take your nonsense to your own house.
Yeah.
If you're that close to somebody though to smell their drug addiction, I mean, how close are you getting there? Because it's like
The drug addiction is tobacco. Like, tobacco is still a drug. Like,
Yeah.
it's very easy to smell. Like, you can literally pass by someone that smokes and still smell that
Yeah.
stench from 2 meters away.
You know,
yeah,
what,
but I mean, what if you're walking past them though, they just got really bad BO? You're gonna like mandate a shower for them? You know,
mandate
We
links.
probably should, to be honest. Like,
just
someone doesn't-
like get the hose.
like honestly, let's say you see someone that hasn't showered in 2 months. I do think this person should be forced to shower.
Yeah, just throw a bar of soap at them or something.
That's the thing. It's like as much as I'd like to say, yeah, you should. It's not our place to do it.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
like
I mean, we
at
live in
the
a
end of the day,
society, right? Like you as a people make the rules of the society. Like if you want people, like I'm gonna bring up a bad example because like why not? But there is a village in India that has a shit festival, right?
Oh no,
oh,
I've
what
seen
the
that. It's
fuck is that?
no,
And
it's like they get cow shit and throw it
throw
everywhere.
it at each other.
It's like watching 5-year-olds fight with a pile of shit.
Yeah,
What the
like there is degrees to what you should tolerate, and like if like it's the same with Comic Con, right? Like I've heard so many stories about people coming to Comic Con and the
The
smell
smell,
is
the
yeah.
smell.
I do
Yeah.
think as a society we should have a rule like you should be at the very
Well,
least in a world where water is available, shampoo is
Yeah.
available, deodorant is available, that you are not necessarily perfectly
yeah,
presentable, but you at least smell like you haven't
yeah.
showered in 3 fucking
We'll
months.
rename it
That
Deodoricon.
no, that's a societal issue though. I don't think we need to have government mandate that. That should be if someone's like you said before, someone's not showered for 2 months. Well, people are going to avoid him like the plague.
Hmm.
You know, so he's got if he wants, so he's going to be ostracized by society anyway.
Yeah, but then you're enabling his behavior because someone that is in that position will then double down, triple down.
Well, then, if they're going to do that, then society itself will double and triple down. So, well, we don't want anything to do with you. And then you've got things like shops and the like say, well, no, we want you to leave because you're literally stinking up the place. You're probably carrying germs, which will
That's no
which
problem. You live in an era now where everything comes to your doorstep.
Hmm.
well, I mean, that's it's an enabling thing, but then he's still going to be mostly ostracized from
Yeah.
society. I mean, he can't go out to a pub or something like that and like have
Okay,
a day out with friends.
Yeah.
your argument is let him do what he wants and then completely abandon him.
Yeah. Hmm.
Well, no, it's not abandoning him. It's like
It
if
is
he does,
abandoning him because if you were to talk to a fellow human being, you want the best for that person. Like, obviously, maybe we don't get the law involved, but we do get like some kind of enforcement involved. Like, let's say, like
well, that's what I'm
social
saying.
services.
That's what I'm saying. Cultural enforcement. I don't think my issue with what you were saying is that the government was like making a law for it. I don't think it's okay to have societal standards.
Yeah, but the problem with
I've got no problem
suggestions
with
is just
that.
that suggestions don't get anywhere. Like, think about when America wanted to implement the kilometer. That became a suggestion, and there is one stroke of highway in America that was done in the 70s that is based on the kilometer. But because it was a suggestion, nobody else adapted. Because in a society, when you make something a suggestion, nobody cares. It's either you
Well,
tell
that-
them to
well-
do it, or it's we'll do what we want.
Well, there's two ways of doing it. You either incentivize them to do it or force them to do it.
Well, there's also a third way, which is you start from childhood, which means you make sure the parents properly raise their child to be someone that
Well-
actually takes care of themselves.
Though that's more long term, fair enough. But we're talking about in the immediate, aren't we?
No, not really. Because all of these problems come from the long term. Someone that smokes tobacco, like let's say, it goes
Since they were
through.
18.
These are all problems. Like stress is a big indicator for someone to seek something that quote unquote releases that stress, right? Like people that smoke, especially in South Korea. South Korea has an extreme
Yeah, I've
smoking
heard of that.
culture where they smoke just for the sake of smoking because it gives some kind of relaxation because of how competitive and how stressful everything is.
Well, some just do it for like peer pressure as well. There's
That
there's
too,
other
yep.
reasons. But yeah, but I'm of the opinion it's like we should do some kind of like societal
Intervention.
like rules or guidelines. Yeah, because we could do it as like a neighborhood or like a local neighborhoods or as like society at large. I don't think we need to go as far as actually mandating anything though. And if people choose not to do that, then they run the risk of getting ostracized by society, which
But then
can
you
be a
run into the same problem. These people will isolate themselves, and now you're just abandoned. It's kind of what happened in Japan, right? In Japan, what they're doing is just don't be in sight, and we'll be fine. It's complete abandonment.
but that's for them though. I mean, at the end of the day, they've got to be the one who does it.
Yeah, but that is what I mean. Like, as long as you force this person in public and make sure the people around them, like, even if you, let's say, like, have you ever seen those videos where they give like a homeless person like a haircut and everything, and they freshen him up, and the guy looks completely new?
Yeah, see something
That's
like
kind
that.
of like the direction I mean in, like just looking at people that just look like
That-
they need help and have people that incentivize that and just to go to him, but
well,
like,
that
what do you need?
yeah, that's one way of doing it. Like charity, charity, that kind of thing. It could be a good way. I mean,
Yeah,
shame is also a good motivator as well. But you
definitely.
get a lot, like for example, you get a lot of fat people who are ashamed that they're fat. I mean, I don't like the fact that I was getting fat, which is why I'm trying to, lose a little bit of weight.
But here's the thing
Um,
about shame: the person has to feel ashamed first. But if a
That too.
well,
person doesn't feel
yeah,
ashamed, then they're
but
not going to change.
but then they've also got to have the just like general motivation to do a thing in their first. If they want to stop smoking, they don't have to feel ashamed about being smoking. That's why I said it can be a good motivator.
Yeah, but
But
look, I mean,
but
look at
you might need you might need to convince them. It's like you might appeal to their self interest
to the
and
to,
say, well, look, you'll live longer, or you won't you're less likely to get sick, get lung cancer.
yeah.
Or something
Well,
like
to the
that.
point of
There's-
that, like to the point of smoking. Remember the adverts that you used to put on TV where they showed you like the blackened lungs and inside, people with
Oh,
cancer and
the
stuff like that.
Did,
And did it
did-
deter
did-
anybody?
No.
I think it probably did some, but like by and large, probably not. But did you see the? Because that's what I was saying. That kind of stuff like very heavy-handed, and no one
Yeah.
likes being lectured like that. But did you see? Did you see the? Did you see the erectile dysfunction version of that?
No, what the hell is that?
Okay, so it's basically you use your fingers as legs and someone put a cigarette in between the fingers and we're walking it, but as it's burning, it's basically so it looks like
Oh,
so
wow.
the cigarette looks like a dick, but as it's burning away, it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So it's like there's a metaphor for erectile dysfunction. I was like, oh, it was hilarious.
Fair enough.
It
Erectile
it
dysfunction.
just looks so absurd.
Yeah. Madness.
Kind of like how our society is made right now, right? There's from these books like Hume, Locke, Nietzsche, Marx, unfortunately, they have a massive influence over how our society currently operates. And that is kind of like where the issue starts. Like, how do you? Because I am fully against banning books. Like, I'm seeing it happen here and there, and I think it's ridiculous. Because the
They're
moment you have
banning
to ban a book,
books?
always ban
I-
books. There's ban books everywhere, Dave. Even in
Yeah,
your country.
I would be because I mean I used to be like free speech absolutist, but as I've gotten older, I've realized that you do need some kind of censorship sometimes. I mean, good example, child pornography. It's censored and for good reason.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm talking about, right? Like,
No,
I'm
no,
talking
no, no.
about
I'm just saying that
literature.
as an I'm just saying that as an example. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
looking at like you see some of these like you heard of the book Genderqueer.
Nope.
You must have heard it.
Mhm.
Okay, so basically, this is like a child's book, which is basically just showing sexual explicit stuff to kids. Basically, say this is it's basically trying to make kids queer. You know,
So this
Um,
person who wrote this should be in jail.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, at the very least, take a look at the hard drive. But you've got stuff, you've got stuff like that. But they try and put it in school libraries. Now, what I would say is, I mean,
Oh, wow.
definitely get out of school libraries. Maybe put it in. Maybe allow it in. Like bookstores or something if they want to sell it. But definitely, it should be definitely not marketed as a child book.
I mean, it should
Yeah.
just be like, let's say you have a library, right? And a library should just have certain sections, and sections can be like divided into certain parts. And like some parts you just don't want children to enter. Obviously, children that are interested will still enter those type of parts, but in the end, like, it comes down to just having a controlled environment of what goes out. So what goes into it. Like for example, when I went to elementary school, there was a school library, and it was just loaded with, well, either children's stories or just stories that were up to the ages of 13, because it was
Yeah.
elementary school, obviously.
Yeah.
And that's
I
kind
don't-
of like a thing. Like, I don't think banning books is always the way. Like, you should just have all books available.
Mhm.
Like, even the Communist Manifesto or Das Kapital. Like, I think they're ridiculous books, but
Yeah, same thing like Mein Kampf and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, if
you
you want to
do-
read it. I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
that's kind of
Yeah,
like where I
you-
stand. But
you-
just don't make it available to children.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
that's what I'm saying. So
funnily enough, one of the old libraries that used to be in one of my areas, it was like you used to go in, and then there used to be like kids section as you went in, and as you went further down the library, it used to kind of get more mature content.
Yeah,
But then
exactly. That's what I mean.
up the stairs, it was directly in front of the reception desk, and there was a big chain on the stairs, and that was like the adult only content that was up there. So if the receptionist
Yeah,
seen
your-
a child
your
going up
porn
there,
magazines and
yeah,
stuff like
it
that.
would be they would kind of be pulled back, kind of
That's a
thing. You
good
know
way
what I
to
mean?
do it. Like, I think honestly we should start getting libraries going again.
Oh yeah,
make
yeah.
sure
I
that
mean,
we-
there
dying
are,
off.
there are, there are still libraries, but we do
When I say
need.
going again, I mean we need to incentivize it again to
Yeah,
make sure
no, that's
people
Yeah.
look it up.
yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I was gonna say. Yeah,
Yeah.
we do need. I mean, I think just better off. We need to just encourage kids to read again in general.
Oh yeah.
Because a lot of them, because it's like, obviously you've got stuff like YouTube and stuff like a lot of online content now, which can be good, but I think we need to start mixing the two. I mean,
Yeah.
when you're a kid, YouTube should just like YouTube and online social media, so should only be used for educational stuff anyway. They should not have access to the general internet until they're 18.
Yeah. Well, I
May-
think that's a
may-
lot. Of,
maybe-
I don't fully agree with that. Like
Oh,
I do
go on.
think, like for example, I come from esports, right? And esports is a field where it depends. Do you consider coaching educational content?
Just consider
To a
what
degree.
educational content?
Coaching.
Coaching, I'm sure, depending on the context. Yeah.
Okay, that's kind of the thing. Like, where do you draw the line with that type of stuff? Because most
Well-
coaching is aimed towards like already professional people or semi-professional people, but it's extremely insightful for an amateur. So let's say chess, right? So there's a lot of chess content out there, and some of these chess content creators are, let's just say, not really child-friendly. They pretend to be child-friendly, but when you look at their dress code, it's like, you know damn well you're
They
not
wear
allowed to wear those clothes when
suits.
you go into a
Yeah.
chess tournament.
They're
And-
they're wearing like a Hago face t-shirt or something like that.
Yeah, it's kind
Yeah.
of. But the thing is, like, these people are international masters and above, and that's kind of like okay, like they still are personality-wise very children-friendly. That's kind of where do you draw the line with these type of things? It's more like the internet
Well, I mean-
itself needs to be maintained not by anyone else but the parents. The parents should just
Yeah, I
know
was
what
gonna
their
say,
children are
yeah.
up to.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying it's like they shouldn't get unsupervised access to the general internet until they are
Yeah, I agree with
18, maybe 16, depending.
that.
Depending.
I think 16 is fine, but then
yeah,
16 to
16,
18
18.
still with like parents being like, okay, like what are you actually doing?
Yeah. Going back
yeah,
to
yeah, because but then also with that, just bury him under a pile of books as well. Just say, yeah, start reading some of this stuff. But you know,
Yeah.
because it's like, well, I mean, as well, because it's like reading books got me into like the fantasy and
Yeah.
sci-fi
I
stuff
do
as well.
think you need to deviate a bit from that, because, like, for example, like when I was young, what got me into books was my parents reading me books.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that like audiobooks.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there needs to be like a difference between people that like actually reading the books, but also the availability of the audiobooks. Because I think audiobooks
Yeah,
are an
good idea.
extremely important thing. Because like it's scientifically proven that there are so many different types of people that absorb information different ways, and some people do it with audio formats, and some are
Yeah.
just more with literate formats.
yeah.
So there needs to be like even in a library, I would say there needs to be an ability to get the audiobooks as well.
Yeah. Well, to that point, right, Dominic, I can, if I listen to a bit of music, I can pick it
Yeah.
up better by listening to it, not by looking at sheet music. So I could
Oh,
play
yeah,
it
me
better if I listen to a piece. And, you know, to compare that to audiobooks, if my mind works that way, you know, then I'm going to pick up information better because I'm hearing it rather than seeing it on a
Exactly.
page. Because sometimes, like people with dyslexia, the words become jumbled and things like that. So there's different
Yeah.
They also
reasons
get
why people
frustrated
can't
because of
read.
that, right?
Yeah, yeah,
My
exactly.
nephew
yeah,
has
yeah.
But-
dyslexia, and they got very frustrated trying to read. But my brother bought him this Donald Duck series.
Right.
This is what we were raised up in as well. And eventually he got comfortable reading because the comic format is probably the best way to teach a child with dyslexia how to read.
Yeah.
Because
so?
a book is just gonna completely like it's the way language
Overwhelm?
learning works. Like language learning in general, like one of the key things that I do whenever I learn a new language is comprehensible input. And comprehensible input is the science behind the fact of how you learn a language as a child. And it's basically it comes with the words, the body language, and the imagery.
Mhm.
And comics, in like for example, Donald Duck has the kind of like the body language of like, is it the surprised face, is the neutral face of Donald Duck
Well,
himself?
it's Donald Duck. It's angry face most of
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah, but you get the idea, right? Like it's kind of like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
image shows the intention, and the text is very small. It's just in a small
Yeah.
text bubble where just the key things are being said. So it's very easy for a child with dyslexia to, well, not easy. Like it's still complicated, obviously, but with
Yeah.
the way our brain develops language, they absorb this information much smoother. Like
Yeah,
not easier,
well,
but just smoother.
funnily enough, I heard about a research that was going on as of late that was about children who like don't learn languages until later on in life, and like they don't, if they learn it later on in life, then they don't fully grasp a language. They have to learn it between 0 and 3, or they won't fully grasp it. Like language itself, just syntax within language, they won't fully grasp understanding of how language works unless you learn it between the ages of
I think
0 and
it's
3.
more than that, though. Like
Maybe,
as a
yeah.
Dutch person, like the Dutch have kind of like a cheat code because our vocal box basically covers almost all sounds the human throat can make. Like,
Right.
there's obviously an exception with the Arabian sounds. There are several Arabian sounds that we can't make
How
unless we
about the
practice
tick
it.
sounds? Like that.
Well,
I mean, everyone can make tick sounds.
Yeah, no,
no,
but
yeah,
the language of tick sounds.
it's sort of like the African languages where they talk
Yeah.
like that. But it's like, well, you've got things as well. Like, what was it? The Japanese LNR.
What's that about? I've never heard of that.
They can't pronounce like LNR is kind of like the same thing, you know, comparable
is.
to us. So they can't pronounce
The thing
R's
is, like
L's
you have
properly.
to.
That's why they go like fried rice or fried lice, you know, that kind of thing.
No, like
Oh.
this is discriminatory what you're saying because the way the L works in Japan is it's very based
I
on
was
how your mouth works, right? So your
Right.
mouth and your tongue.
I was given an example like a kind you know.
Yeah.
I know, but it's more like if you're going in that direction, it's kind of like at least go into the right direction because like when it comes to the L and R, even I cannot make the sound of the Japanese. It's very complicated to make. Like it's a mixture between L and R, which
Yeah.
is
I mean,
not easy to do at all.
Lur. Lur.
But that's one thing that
Hideo Kojima did something good, really clever with it. You know, when Metal Gear Solid 2 came out, the Patriots, like their nickname was the Lally Lule Lo. Because that would be ridiculously impossible for any Japanese person to say. So it was basically doing a word game to fuck over the
sounds like
Japanese in a
something
sense.
he would do. Yeah.
It's unpronounceable, so they couldn't. It's basically a thing you couldn't say. So because it was unpronounceable, it basically kept the Patriots hidden.
Yeah. To be fair, but some English people can't even say that, so it's like she sells seashells on the seashore. You know what I mean? Like difficult to say.
Seashells on the seashore.
Easy
But
for
it's just
you.
that thing, right? Like when it comes to, like for example, take Korean. Like when the Sejong the Great created the Hangul alphabet, it was based on obviously the connection between heaven, earth, and down under. Like everything in between. That's kind of how the language itself was created, the alphabet at least. But the way the sounds are made is very based on how the throat and the mouth itself operates, depending on which sound comes out.
Yeah.
Which is why South Korea has a wider vocal range than Japan.
Right.
It's precisely because like there was I can just say that Sejong Ray was a genius for his time when it comes to linguistic ability because this is the things that he and obviously the people around him created. It did make the language extremely complicated because, like for example, in Japan you can have one kanji mean 3 different things, but in South Korean you can have one thing requiring 3 different words. So there's a lot of bloat in the amount of words that you have. Obviously, it comes up with formalities and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But generally speaking, when it comes to language, like it's all about the culture around it. But I think there's also genetics involved. On like, because whenever I see English people trying to speak another language, it's like, bro, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like there's somewhere down the line. Because if you go like back 800 years and you hear Old English, It almost sounds like Frisian.
Oh, it's it is a completely different language.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was like somewhere down the line, English grew to what it is today. Not necessarily in a bad way, but like a lot of vocal sounds were just cut off in the
Well, I mean,
English language.
Yeah.
it's linguistic drift. Language does change over time.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know, you being a polyglot, is it easy for, would you say it's one of the easier languages to learn, English, or is it one of the more difficult
I mean,
languages to learn?
It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be.
It's unrelated to like for this. English is one of the most difficult languages to learn for
was
a
gonna say.
Japanese person.
Right.
But as a Dutch person, the English language is a joke.
Okay.
Like, I could learn the English language in 400 hours. Same with German,
Okay.
because of how closely connected. Like, we're the same family. It's basically, I have to just learn like a few different things, and if anything, like obviously I have an English accent whenever I speak English, right?
Yeah.
But that's because I was raised in an environment from a young age. But whenever I started learning Korean or Japanese, for example, I've had teachers like literally get confused on whether or not I was like someone not from their actual native. They thought maybe, are you second generation? Until I turned my camera on, then like, oh, never mind.
You're Dutch.
Well, not
Very-
Dutch, but it's like, you're very white.
Yeah. Very white man. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Uh,
But that's the thing. Like when it comes to language learning, like there is a lot of pushback in like even in philosophy, where you pretend like these things are just social contracts, right? It's like it's so ridiculous to me. Like human beings are organic creatures. We are, you could almost say, programmed to organically evolve, which is kind of like what Locke and Hume stood for, right? Even Nietzsche, of course, he had his extreme ideas as well, but did stand for like that fact that human beings can grow throughout their life and also throughout history. Like if you think about the Notre Dame, for example, Notre Dame's the first stone was placed 200 years before the actual project was finished. Nobody that laid the first stones ever saw the completion of that project. And I
Oh,
think
it's like the
what-
whole growing the tree on the whose shade
Exactly.
you never sit.
Yeah, the ancient Greek saying, yeah. Plant a tree whose shade you will never enjoy. And I
Oh, it's
think
like- it's like the
that's
whole
kind of
growing
like
the
what we
tree
as
on
human beings are. We are responsible for the next generation and generations after that. And that's kind of like what the Confucian philosophy is as well. Like China for a very long time, of course they've had their mistakes as well, but for a very long time, they stood for the fact that whatever you do, you're doing it for the next in line, which caused the problem of nepotism, obviously. But
Yep.
that is kind of like the fundamental thing as a human being, whether you believe in God or not. Fundamentally, you're responsible for the next generation. And if you take away that duty, you become nothing more than, quote unquote, an enjoyer of the time, which is an extremely selfish thing to do. It's not saying necessarily wrong, but if you go through that line and then produce nothing for the next line, but then also start ruining for the next line, and now you're picking a fight, right? Because that's kind of like what the current modern ideology is. Not only are you not participating in the next of the line, you're also ruining it for the rest of them. Like modern ideology is heavily attacking, like especially children, right? Like they want children indoctrinated. They want them to think a certain way. But because this leads to people not having children, what they do now, they have to import children. And it leads to a vicious cannibalistic cycle of the Ouroboros eating its own tail.
Yeah. Is there any people in today's current society who's doing things right that are,
Actually,
could be
yes,
taking a
the-
good example from?
The most important people are the people you never hear from.
Yeah.
They are doing everything. Like, for example, I would say my older brother is someone like that.
Right.
Like, just hands down. Like, I think he is someone you will never hear from. But he's doing everything right to make sure that his children are fed properly, are taught properly, are raised properly, are healthy, make sure that his wife is taken care of properly.
Mm-hmm.
He works full time, she works part time. But you will never hear from this man. Ever.
Do you think?
Because
Sorry. Yeah.
Go
You,
on.
you'll never hear from this man because.
he's got his life.
Right.
Like most people, this kind of like a thing, right? It's a mathematics as well. Like you have the median, and like the tyranny of the middle, the tyranny of communism, is essentially that everyone needs to conform to a certain way, because it's easier that way to control people. That's one, but two, it's also most people in that lane just want life to stay the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't really, but this is the thing that communism doesn't address. It's the fact that what my brother does want is for his children to have every open possibility. This means that if his son were to, let's say, become a politician, he would not stop him. If his son wants to become a soldier, he would not stop him. If his son wants to become an MMA fighter, he wouldn't stop him. He would obviously be next to him and explain to him like the dangers of MMA, for example, or the dangers of the political world. But for the rest, he would want that door to be open for him. And that is like the key to what most people in the middle want. The middle wants stability, but they also want opportunity for their next in line. And that is what it means to lay a stone for the next generation. They don't want any barriers of entry for their children. They want their children to flourish. And that is something that is heavily misunderstood in today's society, where it's like, this is stable, so the next in line should also be stable, whereas we don't know what the next in line is going to look like. We don't know what all of the children are going to look like. Like, imagine a full school of girls and a full school of boys. We don't know what's going to come out of that until we know what's being taught in those schools, right? That is what is important. And then it's also important, what do their parents teach them? So it becomes a combination of what do the parents teach and what do the schools teach. But the schools are obviously being pushed by the government on like what is important for the schools to have in their school, right? What is in the curriculum? What do the teachers get taught whenever they themselves learn to become a teacher? Stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And that is where the argument to the difference between what Hume said, right? Like, you cannot describe the world in facts and use that to prove how the world ought to be. You need to have a balance of like, sure, there's the facts, which is important, and they should be consistent. So, like, if you have an absolute fact, like gravity, for example, you cannot deny gravity. Like, nobody's going to jump off a building and be like, yeah, gravity is a joke. But let's say you have someone that denies that the Earth is round. I mean, we've known the Earth is round for like, what, 3,000 years now? Like, this is something that's almost ridiculous to even argue about, but that is something where it's like, yeah, sometimes freedom of speech is just ridiculous. Like, these people are also like planting this idea forward to other people, right? Because the flat Earth theorists, quote unquote, is a very small society, but they do get new members.
Yeah, but I mean, I think there's a problem with allowing that, because you've got, I mean, because who's to say, well, who's to arbitrate
I'm not
what
saying it
is
should be
right
a
or wrong?
crime.
Yeah.
I'm just saying like it shouldn't be taught.
You've brought a little quote to my mind here, and it's
Go for it.
madness, as you know, is like gravity. All it takes is a little push. Meaning in terms of like, you know, we're on the verge of madness, really. And just when you talked about gravity there, I think we're getting back to, you know, people looks maxing and stuff like that, you know. And it just came to my head. I was thinking of it in terms of that, you know, madness, and it's just like gravity. It's a little push.
Fair enough. Like, ever since the Renaissance, like, yeah, there's always been a lot of philosophers that heavily lean towards atheistic ideas as well. But you do see that even without God, there needs to be some level of sacred purpose for a society to function. Like, you need to have some feeling of you're doing this for a reason. Because, like, if you speak to the next generation, the Gen Z, more often than not, they have only one thing to say. They feel like nothing more than a cog in a wheel. Because there's no sacred purpose. It's more like, do whatever you want, and we'll see where the shit goes.
I would say there is a sacred purpose, but it's narcissism. So it's their sacred purpose is themselves and the maximization of the self.
Yeah.
You know, at the cost of everything.
Because this is mostly like this narcissism is, I would say, millennials are the biggest narcissists you could ever imagine. They're all
I hate
about
to
the
say it,
me, me,
but
me.
we've got one big leader in the world stage right now who is a narcissist, in my
Yeah, but that's
opinion.
the point I'm making.
Yeah,
But I mean, you could say that. You could say that about pretty much every leader in the world.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
that is.
It
those are
kind of
outliers.
they're all in it for themselves. Yeah.
I'm talking
Yeah,
about the
kinda-
entire generation, right? Like, so our generation, at least we should, on one side, have everything, but also should be given everything. You can't have both.
The Gib
Like,
mentality.
yeah, and that's kind of like where the narcissists they hide. You see a lot of people in like Mike's age bracket. These are still millennials, obviously.
Yeah, I'm
That
a millennial.
that believe that, for example, they go for I don't want to have any children, but then they proceed to have an enormous amount of opinions about what should be given to children. It's like, but you yourself have absolutely no stake in this. You also don't know the sacrifice required for you to be a parent. Obviously, there's unfortunate people who cannot have children, but there's a lot of people in the millennial age bracket who have an enormous amount of opinions about children, but at the same time, they do not want anything to do with having any of them themselves.
Well, yeah, it's a form of NIMBYism because you get a lot of these people who vote for certain things to be done, but then complain or freak out if these policies get enacted in their own neighborhoods.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's very narcissistic, our generation. Obviously, the previous generation isn't helping either, but if it comes to degrees of narcissism, I definitely believe ours is it. Like, I don't think you can find bigger narcissists in history, even. Because obviously, we live in an extreme luxury. Like, almost everyone that you see today lives like a king from like 800 years ago. Because you gotta imagine, like 800 years ago, the quality of life of a king was he had a cold castle. And some fireplaces, sure, with meals from the farmers, and he had servants. And that's about it. And he had to work all day. The
Wow.
kings didn't have it that amazing. Like, yeah, they had it way better than the peasantry, that's for sure. But if you imagine a king now and a king then, like almost every single person, if you have an apartment with heating, a working shower, and you can go to a supermarket with food from all over the world, you are living better than a king from 800 years ago.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's one massive thing: flushing toilets.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
like
yeah.
toilets back in the day. Like if you imagine those towers, those castle towers, they would have these chunks outwards of the tower, and those will be the toilets, and then everything,
Yeah.
as you point out, just falls downwards.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, right? And just to kind of go off topic a little bit, but
Yeah.
was it not like pirates back in the day as well that the head, the captain of the ship it wasn't actually like in charge of the people. It was just more in charge of the ship. But his second in command was always in charge as well. So like the captain wasn't fully in charge. It was always there was always somebody underneath him who was also in charge, and
No,
then they could vote the
was in
captain.
charge of-
Well, no,
They could vote the
just chain-
captain out,
There
but
was no votes. Like there was a
No,
mutiny.
that's just chain of command.
yeah.
it was chain of
But
command.
how I want that to relate into like
It does.
for
It doesn't.
kings.
No, that doesn't mean anything. That's you're comparing apples and oranges there.
Yeah.
Pirates
okay.
is a very strange analogy to use. I'm gonna be real.
Yeah.
No,
that too.
I mean, I'm just thinking in terms of like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Like
Command
what are you
chains and
trying-
things like that.
Let's actually go there. Like, what are you trying to paint?
In terms of how society's structured,
Chain of command.
yeah,
I mean, democracy is like kind of a lot of philosophers have like listed democracy as a tyranny of the majority, whereas there's a lot of selfish people voting for their own self-interest, which is a problem, obviously.
right now, okay, in our country, the royal family, being a king doesn't really mean anything. Like to some people, King Charles doesn't really mean anything. He's just a symbol of
No,
British.
He's got influence. There's a
Yeah,
there's a lot of
okay, he's
influence.
got influence around the world in terms of, you know, like
Politics.
relationship.
It's
Yeah.
the same with our royal family.
But
I mean,
Like-
the vestigial, so they're not as influential as they used to be, but they still have a lot of.
They have the connections and the history. Like the king of my country and the king of your country, they serve a very important role in just stability. Like democracies, they function on like a 4 to 6 year cycle, which is what causes all of these chaotic situations. But kings are there from youth till old age. So a lot of royal families still talk to each other quite often, have the connections with each other, and then broadly working an entire network globally.
right,
So the Dutch king and the English king, like for example, when Trump came to my country, he did visit the king because this is a person who knows what's going on in the country and theoretically speaking does still have power over the country.
Right.
The real power lies with the government, obviously. So he goes to the king with the government. Like that's kind of like where all the connections are. So even if like you lose a prime minister, for example, the king is still there.
Yeah.
So the king can tell the next prime minister, okay, so this is important, this is important, these are the connections that we have, etc., etc.
Right.
It gives
Okay.
you like this stable person as an outpost.
Okay. Okay. I get
I
it.
don't want my king though. Like I want to become a republic again, but that's a different story.
Fair enough.
I do see I see the value in having a royal family.
Yeah. Yeah. And
They're
I get
basically fancy people on benefits.
right. Okay. Okay. Yeah, because they're getting the state's from.
Yes, we're paying for
Well,
their
you-
houses.
Yeah.
I mean,
okay.
to be fair though, I mean they do bring in a lot of tourism, so there is a lot of money that they bring in as
Yeah.
well.
Also, national holidays like next week, like next Monday, is King's Day in my country, and it's going to be a massive party. Like everything's going to be closed, and everyone's just going to party all day.
Nice.
Yeah, it's
Wish we
very
had
fun.
that.
Yeah, it's something I never understood. Like here, we've had it since before I was born.
Wow.
It's just one big celebration.
To be fair, but I didn't even know the Dutch had a royal family. Like, that's news to me.
No, a lot of European countries do have royal families.
Sweden
That's
has one as well.
crazy,
Norway
man.
as well. Denmark has one. I think all the Germanic nations, except for Germany, have one, and Austria, obviously.
Right. Okay. That's
The
crazy.
Netherlands has one. Belgium. No, United Kingdom obviously. Ireland doesn't have one, but Sweden, Norway, and Denmark
Yeah.
still do.
I knew about the Nigerian one. I mean, the Nigerian
And the
prince and all
Nigerian prince
this.
has money for you, sir.
That's the
I
only
am
way I
going to
found
die
out about
soon
that
and I
one.
will leave you my inheritance of 50 million Zimbabwe dollars.
All you need to do is give me £20 of your money.
Yes.
Oh dear. Yeah, but that, I mean, all jokes aside, like I didn't know that other countries had like extensive royal families. I guess, you know, I was quite ignorant to that, you know. And that's probably on me for not doing my research about that. But there you go.
I mean, it's not that important, I would say. Like in political theory, the royal family, like kind of like what they started doing in the 18th and 19th century, was putting the royal family kind of like in the back door, similar to how Japan has an emperor. But you don't really hear about this guy at all. Like it's more symbolism than anything.
Right.
And this was something that well, the Nazis also kind of like embraced this idea. Maybe that's kind of like where it really got pushed, where the royal family should just, you know, sit backwards and just do a more political job and not really care too much about what's going on in the country. Because, for example, the queen of this country comes from Argentina, and she has way too many opinions when it comes to DEI. Well, to the point where I'm sometimes like, you know, maybe we should speedrun this removing the royal family, because I'm like, bro, like if I hear any more nonsense coming out of your mouth, I'm gonna have issues, because in the first place, you're not even Dutch. Who allows you to be queen? Like you should be a princess. I don't know why you have the title of queen.
Brilliant.
But yeah, she hears all this nonsense in Brussels, obviously, and from the people around her, because the royal family is very politically connected. So
Yeah.
whatever happens in the European Union, she gets these things, and then she starts parroting this information. And I'm like, oh, here we go again. She has opinions again. This uneducated woman is going to tell the rest of us how to live again. Thankfully, she doesn't do this too often, and I think she was told to just keep her mouth shut, because in the Netherlands we don't really have chill for this type of stuff. But
Yeah.
every once in a while she slips, and I'm like, oh no.
But is that not the problem overall, right? The people who are in charge of, like, especially our country as well, they come from these backgrounds that are highly privileged. They've got no understanding of how the people are actually living in the streets. We talked about, you know, people with bad hygiene earlier on, with getting soap thrown at them or whatever. But you know that is
Stop at them, boys.
that is generally a problem with society rather than, you know, maybe his problem itself, you know, because
I mean, it's
that person is
democracy,
out in the
right?
street. Yeah, well, that person's out in the street for a reason, because they can't afford to be in a home. So the last thing on their mind
Not
is probably
entirely true.
have, well, yeah, I know, not entirely true, but to a degree, there is people out there who genuinely can't get homes because it's very difficult because here the system's backwards, right? You need an address to get a bank account, but some people haven't got an address to get a bank account, to get money. So it's one
You
of
can
those
set up a
things.
PO box.
Yeah.
Well, can
PO
you
box is still
really?
fine. Yeah.
I did not know that. There you go.
The thing is, right, that when it comes to democracy, like I said, especially our generation is extremely selfish and narcissistic. And if you think about the Roman Empire, there was a term coined, the Caraculus. And the Caraculus were, I think I've already spoken about this before, actually. The Caraculus were
Many times.
the people that are educated, quote unquote, knew how to say all the right things, but were completely incompetent with actually doing any form of action. And that is what politicians are currently in modern day. Even in old democracy in ancient Greece, like populism is like an immune response from society on the Caraculus not listening to the actual problems in society, because they live in a fancy house far away from all your problems. So they
Gated
don't know about
community, isn't that like?
yeah, stuff like that. But the real problems, that's where the gap forms for populism. So, for example, if you think about Trump, like, it doesn't matter if you like it or hate him, like, the reason he got into power is because the other side is blind. They only care about their own little problems. But if you look at the lives of the average Democrats, these people live very well off.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them are raised with a silver spoon in their mouth, if not with a golden spoon.
Yeah.
It's a very entitled people. Like, they don't care about the average people. They have
Yeah.
absolutely no idea. What populism is a reaction towards whatever the gap is. And the gap will only grow wider and wider because the Caraculus cannot articulate the problems that are in that gap. They can only articulate the things that they are, well, taught in the institutions.
Yeah. So
So
should
in
we
England,
not
Go on.
start having people then in charge who have actually been through the runner, who know what it's like
not
to
necessarily
actually
that,
be?
because like we have someone like that in our country. When he was part of the European Union and he came back to the Netherlands to become like quote unquote prime minister, but he failed miserably
Right.
because he started talking about, he remembers how it was to live in Rijkshuizen, which is the Dutch norm for how houses are made in rows. It's a
Right.
very Dutch architecture, that if you've ever seen it. And it was like he remembers all those struggles, he remembers all those hardships. There's only one problem. That was in 1970.
Right. Okay.
Like the reality is,
50 years ago.
if you think about a surgeon, right? A surgeon operates on one patient, and whatever happens with the patient, he can get judged on. He can lose his license, everything. I think I've said this already before as well, but he can get a lot of penalties based on what he does in there. Everything is fine, no problem. You move on, right?
Yeah.
But a politician doesn't have this system. A surgeon has to dedicate his entire life to continuously learn new things regarding medical theory.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a politician can have like a degree in, I don't know, like some nonsense study that shouldn't even be a study, like gender studies, for example, and then start complaining about only that singular thing because that's the only thing he can speak about.
Yeah.
And then let's say this person becomes a prime minister and he only starts doing things based on that extremely limited knowledge. There will be an extreme amount of damage for everyone outside of that.
Yeah.
I mean, idiocracy is a good point with that.
Mm.
Exactly.
But it's also the same as the airlines. If a crash happens, they do a full
Full
investigation, and they look to why, all the reasons why that happened, and that should be the same as politics. If something happens really bad within a country, then there should be a full formal investigation to make sure that doesn't happen again.
The problem is with that, they go out of their way to hide it, and people have been
Yeah.
very apathetic. So this kind of
Doesn't work.
because it's like I've said many times, it's turned into a team sport.
Hmm.
So
But with today's internet, it's very difficult to hide things. So really, there shouldn't be
but
any
then
stone for
choose
people to crawl
ignorance.
under.
yeah,
People
but
start
then
choosing
there's
ignorance.
the apathy.
Yeah.
Like this is the reason in the Polybius anecdotes, like the stage of democracy after democracy is always mob rule,
Mm.
Yeah.
because at some point people are just done. What do you then get? You get autocracy, which is mob rule, which is rule of the many, which is where I don't even know what to call this word in English. The menigte. It's like the crowd is basically done with your nonsense and they overthrow you.
Right.
And that's kind
Okay.
of like what we're seeing all over. Like most of our problems are self-inflicted.
Yeah.
Most all of our problems are self-inflicted, if
Yeah.
anything.
Of course.
Like it's like we've been punching ourselves in the face for 3 generations, and now we're wondering why we are bruised.
Yeah.
Winston Churchill, like in England, already said it, like way back when I don't remember when it was, like the 50s, maybe even earlier. I don't remember. Like democracy is basically the best we've got out of all the other ones.
Mm.
But what they also knew is that in democracy, you can see the slow decline. So you can actually observe why the crash happens. And that's what I'm doing, right? Like in all my books, like what I'm doing is I'm just observing why the crash happens. And because of the internet, it's super easy.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, the internet has accelerated everything to the point where sometimes I struggle to keep up.
Well,
Because
yeah,
Yeah.
the internet is a massive force multiplier.
Yeah.
exactly. Like, sometimes things that, for example, I expected Octocracy to hit America maybe in like the 30s. And then it already happened last year.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And now I start seeing more and more push from the far left, similar to what it is with communism.
Mm-hmm.
If you ain't with us, you're against us, and if you're against us, we can do whatever we want to you.
Well, look at the whole Charlie Kirk situation as well.
Yeah, but it's not just that. Like you can even see on regular topics, if someone is against their quote-unquote checklist of ideology, they will incentivize violence towards whoever that person is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The Charlie Kirk situation is obviously a perfect example, but it's also like there's so many people outside of that spectrum that are being attacked and silenced. This is kind of what cancel culture was, right? Like 10 years ago. Cancel
Yeah.
culture was kind of like the early come up of the extreme left in if we don't like you, we're going to ruin your entire life.
Yeah.
That's kind of when it already started.
Mm-hmm.
That was like the 2014s, I believe. That's kind of when it really started kicking off with the Gamergate and everything.
That's when it became noticeable.
Yeah, it was definitely before that as well. But since Gamergate became extremely noticeable, and you hear now a lot of people, like in game studies, for example, because gaming has become such a big platform as well. They're speaking about DAI hires and like how people who just want to make a good game are pushed to the side for ideology. So they hire people based on ideology, not based on skill set necessary to make a good game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it goes really deep, all these problems, and what you then get is these people get excluded, and then eventually they get removed from their job because they don't want to be there anymore. And that is kind of what happens with the extreme left and the left. Like they want to create this little group. Like I don't really like Peterson, but there was this tweet from him where he said like at some point you try and please the crowd more and more to the point where the standards become impossible to maintain. And then if you make even the slightest mistake, they will devour you. That is kind of like what the Ouroboros is. Like the extreme left is like an endless self-eating snake that just wants to eat everything, consume everything. But
Yeah.
it eats itself, which is what the problem
Yeah.
is. Like Bernie Sanders is a perfect example, was a good candidate for the Democratic leader.
And then
They ate him.
Hillary screwed him out.
Yeah, they ate him.
Yeah.
Well,
And then he eventually bent the knee as well, so he became one of them.
Yeah, like, because if like at some point he spent what his entire life doing this, at some point you can't handle it anymore, man. Like I don't even blame him.
Yeah.
Because I've
Oh,
seen
yeah.
his life story. Like I've seen like pictures of him demonstrating already way back in like the 70s and everything, or maybe even the 60s. I don't remember how old this guy is. But he's been doing this basically his entire life. His entire life is built on trying to create a better place, trying to put his brick in the wall that is the future of the nation. And every single time he gets shut down. Like, he
Yeah,
made it
although
very far.
I do think he's also become a bit of a hypocrite because of
His age is well involved.
well, possibly as well. Because I remember he's always going on about taxing the millionaires and the billionaires, but then once he became a millionaire, he was like, "No, we got to tax the billionaires." But he he cut his own plate.
Yeah, I think it's just age. Like at some point, after all the defeats, it's kind of like, yeah, now what?
Is that
Well, yeah, no, it was. I think it became like a can't beat him, train him kind of thing.
Yeah.
there's this song called Zombified, and the lyrics are kind of reminding me of the conversation we're having, and they kind of go, "Oh no, they'll never let go of something you said 10 years ago," referring to the cancel culture there. But another one of the lines is, "You better shut your mouth and bite your tongue because you don't want to piss off anyone," which is true these days. You know what I mean? Because if you
Yeah.
piss
No,
off anyone, you're going to.
Well, nowadays you
It-
can again, but like in the 2010s, you definitely couldn't.
it's starting to get better. But yeah,
Yeah.
I remember there was a guy who got cancelled because his dad said something. Like
That's
what was it like a
crazy, innit?
NASCAR driver or something
Go
like
after the
that?
entire family. That's very
Yeah.
what the extreme left are doing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
that
we
was
don't
like the
you,
most
like your children.
yeah, it was the most extreme version I saw because it's like his dad said something, and then he like the statements were brought up again, and this guy was cancelled. He lost all the sponsorships, and he hadn't even
Crazy.
said anything.
It's madness.
It's just like it's like when it comes to like conservatives or just people center right, they tend to promote the idea of like freedom of ideas, right? The marketplace of ideas, which is
Mhm.
kind of what you want. You want to continue building towards something better.
Uh-huh.
Whereas with the extreme left, it's kind of like they're always borrowing it and then they latch onto whatever they like.
Mhm.
If you
Well,
look
no,
hard,
it's the classic thing of they only use it insofar as they can get their own way.
Yeah.
So they will. It's like I go by your principles when you're in power, because because it benefits me. But then when I'm in power, we'll go by my principles because it benefits me.
very
Mm.
selfish. Like I said, like there's a lot of millennials on the left, that's for sure.
Very what on the left?
Millennials.
Millennials.
Oh yeah,
That's why
Yeah.
I'm saying like our generation. Well, yeah, we
It's
made some
fucked.
mistakes. It's like
it's not fuck, but it's in a very disadvantageous position.
yeah, like Gen Z is already heavily starting to lean, like especially men. You see the same curve in South Korean men, starting to hit extreme right almost even, which is obviously a bad thing, but it is a consequence, right? Like when it comes to democracy, this is always the end stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And if
what
you do
comes
it-
after this then? You said this is the end stage. Is it then to the point where we need to begin again?
I mean, I already said it, right? It's after this mob rule, autocracy.
Well, yeah, well, it's gonna be. I think we're in a bit of a dichotomy. We either pull it back and manage to restore some semblance of normalcy, or we just collapse.
Hmm.
Problem is there's too many foreign indicators to try and stabilize things. Like we're talking millions of non-native people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's got to be dealt with as well.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like trying to fix things, these people are the first blockade. And history has shown us that once you try to do something to them, they fight back.
Yeah.
The only exception is Nazi Germany, because you couldn't fight back against the Nazis, that's for sure.
Well, even that article you sent last week to us about that London situation, I'm
yeah.
like, oh my, it's actually,
Yeah, I mean stuff like that. Yeah, because you've got to
Yeah.
get rid of them, but you've also got to get rid of the Queaslings as well.
Yeah, but I mean,
Because-
that's stumping progress in every sense of the word. You know what I mean? It's like it's just it's bringing, it's
It's
kind of
simple,
bringing
right?
in, yeah,
You import the third world, you become the third world. It's just a fact.
yeah, yeah,
So what we should be doing is we invest in we invest in them improving their own countries, and we can get a decent trading partner out of it eventually. So
why should we do that?
no,
Yeah.
I'm saying that's a better idea than bringing them all here.
No,
I
like,
mean, it's a risky one because I mean, obviously it could fuck
But
up.
look, see if
we
the
already do
tables were
that now.
turned. See if the tables
No,
were
that's
turned.
through. It's through charity. Which
Sorry.
charity
No,
doesn't work.
no,
Let-
the
let me-
European Union spends billions of euros on Africa.
Just one question: if the tables were turned, would they do the same for us?
No.
Exactly.
I mean, they would, but under one condition, and I think you know what that condition is.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
What?
What did you say there, Mike?
Caliphate.
Caliphate? What's
I was
that
more
mean?
talking about conversion, but yeah, that works too.
What does caliphate mean?
Do you want to take
No,
it?
go for it. You brought it up, so.
True. Well, it's basically it's an Islamic thing, so it's like what's the best way to describe it? Religious. authority, basically.
Right. Okay. Okay. I get that.
That's um, that's not really the way to qualify it.
Well,
Because the
how
word,
would you describe it then?
well, the word Khalifa, is that it? Khalifa is an Arabic word, right? That's where the Caliph comes from.
Uh-huh.
And it's an Islamic state that is considered to be the political and religious successor to Prophet Muhammad and leader of the entire Muslim community. That is what a caliphate is. It's the successor or deputy, and like I don't know Arabian. Like I might be a polyglot, but Arabian is not really my, not really my language.
Yeah, you might.
It-
Yeah, we might have to ask your friend for the specific,
yeah, but
like
it's
a more apt definition.
it kind of represents the next in line, basically. Like it's they are the protector of the faith. I think that's the best way to describe them.
Right. Okay. Like the prophet, almost. No.
No, no, no,
Well,
no, no. That's
I mean,
that's
it is
very
all
high
about.
on.
I mean, it is also about their religious authority, because if
Yeah.
you're part of the caliphate, you are under their regime.
Okay.
Yeah, like the prophet is a
The
obviously
imam.
the holy person. No, not really holy person, but like the messenger that God gave, right? But
Right.
the the caliphate is like the successor to that. So they are nothing more than the continuation of it, but they absolutely do not hold even remotely the same amount of significance.
Right. Okay. So would it be like comparison to Jesus Christ and the disciples? No.
No,
Okay.
because the apostles are very different. Like I would say, the apostles can be. Like obviously, Prophet Muhammad himself had followers that were extremely important and very famous. But the apostles, in obviously Christian theology, received the Holy Spirit in order to continue the message after Jesus himself passed on.
Yeah.
So, like, Christianity and Islam, in that sense, are very different.
Right. Okay. So it's like comparing apples to oranges, really. There's no
Yeah,
comparison, right? Okay. I
because
get it.
even in Islam, you have the difference between the Sunni Muslims and the Shia Muslims, right?
Right.
Different sects.
Yeah, and that's also again like the Sunnis look at them like, what's going on? Because they're
They're,
confused because
they're
they
very,
believe
very
in
hostile as well.
Right. Okay.
not necessarily a
No,
hostile because
not the Sunnis. The
the Shias.
yeah,
Yeah, not necessarily hostile. It's more they think they have gone the wrong path, and within their faith, obviously, it's important to correct the mistakes of your brothers and sisters to make sure they go back on the right path.
Right.
But the problem of the Shias is they believe that the leader has a direct blood relative to the Prophet Muhammad, which bad idea, really bad idea. And the
Okay.
Sunnis, like they believe the leader should be chosen by the community based on merit and piety, which is what is in the Quran. Like that is how it properly should be. Like the Sunnis, in this sense, when it comes to purely observation of how the Quran is written, the Sunnis are correct in this. Just purely based on like what the Shias do is basically they pull certain things very out of context, and that's when you get problems. Similar with Catholics.
well, I mean that's how a lot of it happens. It's like everyone just has a different interpretation of the. Yeah, they just have different interpretations of various religious texts, don't they? And then
Yep.
they just.
Well,
Well, you get where I'm going. Then they just abuse it
the
basically.
Shia faith is, like I said, they believe the leader has to be a direct blood relative of the Prophet Muhammad. So, quote unquote, the Shah in Iran is someone who is a great grandson of the Prophet Muhammad.
Right.
But that's not what's in the Quran. Like the Quran very much favors merit and piety.
Because we're doing it that way. They're essentially following a kind of thing like what was it, like a divine right of kings kind of thing.
Yes,
So
Mm.
you know,
yes.
It's kind of
It's basically a religious version of a royal family at that point.
again a wee bit
Yeah.
off topic here, but I don't know if any of you guys ever seen the TV show Supernatural, and it was
No.
like the
No.
bloodlines of Cain and Abel.
Abel.
Yeah, and it was like they were direct bloodlines to the archangels, and then in terms of that to God, so
I'm just
I had
wondering,
to
it's
go
like,
through the lineage.
I mean, I'm just wondering, is it even possible to show like blood lineage to someone that far back at this point?
Yes.
Well,
they,
yeah, I think so.
In
Blue
Islam,
blood?
yes, absolutely.
Is it called blue blood? That's the term for it, innit? Blue blood.
No,
That's
that's for
royal
like
blood.
that's for nobility.
Yeah,
Is
that's
it?
ability.
Okay.
Yeah. Like Blauw Blood is how we refer to as our royal family. They're the blue-blooded.
Yeah.
Okay.
It used to be a lot larger. It used to be like noble families in general, but since
Yeah.
we don't really have much of that anymore, it does pretty much just refer to the royal family directly at this point.
Right.
Yeah. But in the Arabian world, yeah, you can actually absolutely track down your bloodline. They are very proud of their dynasty. Like that's also why there's so much tribal conflict within the Middle East. Because
But I'm
all
just
the
thinking, it's
tribes
like,
are
okay,
families and families.
but I'm just thinking, it's like, okay, so it's the prouder, but that would mean, wouldn't they have an incentive to doctor some of that just to make just to make out that they've got the lineage?
I mean,
I mean, then again, maybe
that's
I'm just asking to.
something.
Maybe I'm just asking to prove a negative there, so it's not like.
Yeah, but that's something
Yeah.
like I don't know. Like I haven't looked into shit. Like for me, like I've read the Quran and Muslims. I speak to our Sunni Muslims, and like I've never spoken to a Shia Muslim. Like I would actually have to like have this conversation, be like, okay, like where actually does all your information come from, and how do you build it? Because it's definitely possible to trace the bloodline of the Prophet Muhammad. That's not an issue. But the Quran, nowhere does it say that it should be his bloodline that should rule the Islamic world. He was a profound champion of the merit. That's why in the Middle East, like you've had kings of black origin, for example, despite the fact that black people in the Middle East, even today, are still very much looked down upon. But if you prove you have the merit and you prove that you have the piety, then the Arabians won't mind that you become, let's say, the leader of their nation, as long as you prove that you possess these capabilities.
Yeah.
That is what is in the Quran. But yeah, Iran looked at it differently, and they did their thing.
Well, I was going to say, is that not why the reason there's so much tension right now about obviously the whole situation that's going on
Oh yeah,
over
there's
there?
been a tension between Saudi and Iran for a very long time now.
Yeah.
Precisely because the difference between Sunni and Shia. Because Saudi obviously wants control, but Iran also wants control. But they're both in a different sect, so to say.
Yeah.
So
Lineage.
basically, it's just going to be like them or us. We want to be in control. We don't want them in control. It's not going to end until one side defeats the other.
I don't know
that's
how
pr-
far
that-
they're willing to take it because
I
Muslim on
would
Muslim
say
violence is unlikely. It's
I
very
would
hard.
Yeah, but then it's very easy to coerce to coerce someone an apostate. So that because it's like it's
No,
like
they
we
don't
do it
have
over
an
here.
authority for that. Like unlike
No.
the Catholic Church, the Islamic world doesn't have any authority to do that.
Yeah, but who's to say that won't change?
Very hard to say, like because the thing with Muslims in the Middle East, especially, is that they are very well taught on what is in the Quran, right? So almost all of them can basically read the damn thing from left to right easily. They know everything that's in there.
Is that
So
not the
to
normal
then
way it
have-
goes, to be fair? From left to
Yeah,
right?
but then to have someone go and be like this, and this, like they would have to convince basically, because that's another thing in Saudi Arabia, like the political situation in Saudi Arabia is that there's a lot of tribes, and the royal family in Saudi Arabia is basically walking on glass shards around these tribes because they know how complicated the political environment in their own nation is. Like if they do anything to piss off the tribes, that they're in very deep trouble, because these tribes will choose violence. That's kind of like how the Saudi royal family came to be in the first place. They were a tribe that took power.
And that's well, to be fair, that's kind of how most nations form.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but like going to how the current situation is in the Middle East, it's based on that, right? Like in modern day Europe, you don't have those situations.
Well, we did. So
A
I
long
mean, like,
time ago.
yeah, but I'm just saying, it's just like history is just repeating somewhere else. That's all.
Yeah.
It's more like the Middle East has always been that way. Always.
Didn't it used to be more united, and then it became?
No.
Hmm.
Like the Mongol invasion is kind of like a key point. Like even when it comes to innovation, right? Because I obviously champion the Frontier Middle Garden framework, but the Middle East has always been a place where the frontier stagnates. Because like obviously they still have like amazing people in the frontier, but it wasn't until like the Mongol invasion started with the Turkish people taking charge, and you had the Ottoman Caliphate, where things really started catching up again. And then once they started being okay with everything again, like again it collapsed. It's always been a problem in that region where innovation is the first thing that dies out, or gets repressed because like Al Ghazi in I think what was it in 1009 I believe it was, like started already like isolating a lot of things. Like Ibn Sina, for example, very famous Islamic scholar, but even he, theoretically speaking, is considered a heretic within the Islamic faith. Very complicated
Heretic.
political situation. Like it's very complicated in the Middle East. That's probably why they always say there will never be peace in the Middle East, because of how
It's
complicated
complicated. Yeah.
it's extremely complicated region. Like obviously you had Egypt, the Sumerian Empire before that. For the thousands of years, you've had regions like Persia, like the fights obviously between Persia and the Spartans and the Greeks. Always been friction in that region. Whereas in Europe, kind of what did we have? Like obviously from Charlemagne onwards, like obviously the Roman Empire set the groundwork, then you had Charlemagne, and then it was just the Mongol Empire really, because the Mongol, like modern day Russia, is just a result of the Mongol invasion. And the Hungarians themselves, for example, they are Turkish-speaking Asians. They come from West Asia. So you have the Western European side, which kind of coordinate around the Roman Empire, then around Charlemagne, and then eventually get the European Union. Honestly, like everything in between that is just the Habsburgs, obviously, but they were just one incestual royal family, and but not badly, just to be honest. They didn't do anything crazy. They were religious leaders that took care of their people, I will say. Europe has always been very consistent. Like obviously, you had the fights between the Irish and the English, but that's not really tribes anymore. Like the Celts, those you can consider tribes, but at the time, the Irish were just the peasantry. They weren't really a tribe anymore. They were their own proper people. So I think past, I would say, since the Great Schisms, around 1000 years, so around Charlemagne's era, that's around 800 AD.
Wouldn't know, to be honest.
Yeah, I would say around the past 1200 years, Europe has been very consistent.
It's been somewhat stable.
Yeah, it was kind
You
of
know,
the fall of the Catholic
world
authority
wars
that caused problems.
notwithstanding, obviously.
The way I look at it is more the French Revolution and Marx create a situation where we're going back to what the Chinese warring states were at. They have too many competing ideas, and some of them are just straight up hostile to everything else. That's what communism
Yeah.
is. Communism is a hostile ideology to everything else. And once you completely consolidate around communism, you get nothing. You just get the first 5 to 10 years, you could argue, within communism are good, and everything after that is just a complete nightmare.
Yeah, you get the honeymoon period, and then you get
Yeah.
absolutely fucked afterwards.
Yeah, that's what communism is. Like China knew this as well. That's why they got rid of communism. Like you have a free, not really a free market, but you have an open market within China. That's why there's so many billionaires in China. Whereas Russia, they took away, they doubled down basically. Same what North Korea is doing, right? North Korea also doubled down. Colombia was worse. They wiped out a quarter of their population. Like if
Yeah.
you like the way it worked in Colombia was basically if you had glasses, that alone was enough reason to get rid of you. They took it to extreme extremes.
Oh yeah.
Whereas with the Soviets, it was more like if you were too doing your job too well, yeah, okay, let's just get rid of you, which is also ridiculous. Like, what,
Well,
what
yeah.
kind of logic is that?
It promotes mediocrity.
Yeah, which is what the Soviet Union was. It was a completely mediocre state. That's why, like, when they invaded Ukraine, at some side I was surprised about the paper tiger, but the other side I also wasn't. I was like in between. It's like at one side I did expect like the amount of manpower they have, there's no way. But the other side, there's no way they have a proper military that functions. And then every consequence since then has been obvious. It's just a paper tiger because there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing in that country. There's no sacred purpose. There's no motherland and all of that because there's a big difference between Stalinism and communism. The Stalinism, Stalin himself brought back the sacred purpose around the motherland. That's something Stalin himself did, right? Like Lenin was absolutely against that. Lenin was the one that actually destroyed everything. And then Stalin was okay, the family has to be back again, divorce has to be complicated again, and he had to build a sacred purpose around rallying his people, which was the motherland. Whereas what Putin is doing is just we want to become big again, which is like, and nobody cares. Like whenever
Well,
you
I mean,
meet,
I'm pretty sure the Ukrainians care about that.
yeah, but I'm talking specifically inside, right?
Yeah.
Like
Well,
inside is what
maybe
matters.
except for the oligarchs as well. You know,
But oligarchs, as long as they make money, they don't
big as
care.
more money for them. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
or
As long as
at
they have
least
money.
that would be the
Mm.
idea.
The ones who are
That's
set to profit will care the most.
yeah. But that's kind of like a thing. Like when it comes to listening to ideas, when it comes to like these type of things, like I prefer to just read books. Prefer by people who are no longer in this world, because the moment someone is no longer in this world, they have no more agenda to push. Everything they could have wanted to do is already done, or they tried to do and it never succeeded. But that's it. It becomes much easier to um, look at their works in an objective way and
Mm.
try to extract the information you can from them. Because, like, I do not like blank slate theory, but I have no problems with Locke.
Yeah, yeah. And
Like the tabula rasa, for what it's worth, it's not that bad.
I mean, is that not where your books are looking to direct as well? Like you said
Yeah,
back at the start that about teaching and for the future. And I mean, through conversations that we've had, that's what you seem set on is just for your books to teach people for the future rather than
those that are no longer
now.
not here yet.
Yeah, yeah.
Similar to what Ibn Khaldun said in part one of Zalam Muqaddimah, like he made it very clear that he was just observing what was happening, and he just wrote down everything that he could make sense of. And that is
Mm.
what the Al Muqaddimah is. It's just one man observing and writing down his observations and his ideas and his inspirations and like where his logic came from. Because he too took inspiration from the Roman Empire. There's nothing wrong with that. Like that's just where your information comes from.
Yeah.
And for me, it's the same. Like I get information from China, Japan, Korea. Like I get obviously from Europe itself and all the European nations, from the Islamic world, but not to an extreme degree because I don't speak Arabian. Like, there was this one interview I saw from a woman, a historian, who made an extremely good point. It's kind of like if you look at the footnotes of any work and you want to have a good view of a certain nation, always look at the footnotes and where the sources come from. Because the moment those sources are not in their native language, you are already dealing with potential propaganda.
Right. Yeah.
And
Makes
Well,
good,
sense.
because you don't know what they're saying, do you?
Yeah.
exactly. Like
Yeah.
you have to, it's basically trust me, bro, science. When in reality, like a good example is ancient China. So the Warring States, you had the first emperor, right? The Qin Emperor. And a lot of history from the first emperor of China, who unified China, comes from his enemies. The Han Empire, like it was like 100 years after the passing. You had one historian, the most important historian for that matter, but he was a proper enemy of Qin. He
Mm.
didn't like them at all. Like, so that means like you're probably already dealing with someone that has strong opinions about how this man actually lived. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of misinformation around. Like nowadays, you have China, Japan as well. I think South Korea too. Like they're digging more into those ancient histories and like trying to make a more observative observation around what was that emperor actually like, the first Chinese emperor, because there's a very high chance that most of the information that they do have on him and what happened within the first Chinese empire was most likely propaganda.
Give me a moment here, right?
Sure.
Maybe I'm just having a moment, but is the Bible not translated from Hebrew? So is it not kind of like trust
No.
me, bro?
No.
With that, no.
The Bible, specifically the New Testament, is based on the work of the apostles.
What about the Old Testament? Is that not
Old
translated
Testament
from?
Hebrew, yeah.
Yeah,
But that's the Torah. Like the Jews still speak their own language.
yeah,
So, like sure you can say trust people are silent, but the Jews are not. They could be lying about the translation, but there's way too many Jews for that to work.
right.
Like there's always going to be one Jew who's like, no, everything
Yeah.
that's in here is wrong.
But I think the point that I want to get to is, could it not have been translated wrong from the perception of the person who's translating it? Maybe they didn't want to put as much of a forceful impact of it, you know.
That's possible, but then again, like the Jews still speak their own language.
Yeah,
So
okay.
the actual written texts, they can still read it.
Right, okay, fair enough.
Unless they're collectively lying to everyone.
Exactly.
which-
That's our
mean-
point.
I
My
mean-
point was
I
like,
mean-
unless they're all lying.
yeah, I mean, it's possible, but
Yeah,
we don't know.
It's just I had a moment there. I was like, but is the Bible not
It's a good point.
translated from Hebrew?
The
You know
New
what I mean?
Testament consists mostly of like letters. Like the only real language that you require for that is Latin. That's why almost all theologians they learn Latin and Greek,
Right.
because that's the language those letters are written in, because it was part of the Roman Empire.
Right.
Like the entire period of Jesus was within the Roman Empire, and to be part of the Roman Empire, it was quite simple. You had to follow Roman law, but you could keep your identity. That was the whole purpose of the Roman Empire.
Right.
So the biggest issues you see in the Bible of translations is the interpretation of words. That's kind of like where the problems start. It's quite similar, which you could then potentially have in the Hebrew Bible, but nothing too crazy would happen. It's this really specific obsession with what can this specific word mean and what can that specific
Yeah.
truly mean, because that is kind of like what they're splitting in. But when it comes to like actual history, I mean, everyone can kind of like, even the atheists, when it comes to researching the Bible, like yeah, these things, they probably all happened when it comes to the New Testament, and it's very unlikely that it didn't. Obviously,
Yeah.
the argument for atheists would then be whether or not Jesus himself is God, and etc., etc. But the events within all of these works, I have never met any historian that disagrees with that. The argument is always whether or not religion, right?
Mm. Well, just another wee side topic as well. What about that book that can't really be translated? Like everybody's kind of tried to translate it, but it's very
Which
difficult.
one?
I
Which
think
one?
it's on alchemy. I think it's a book about alchemy.
There's a lot of
And
things that are hard to translate.
it's
Egyptians is all
in-
hieroglyphs.
it is in a museum, and they've even had AI try to translate it, but that's even failed. To a
I'm
degree.
assuming you're not talking about like a papyrus that is broken or something.
I don't know. I can't remember the
I mean,
exact name of
what
it.
if it's just in a code as well?
Well,
Could also
yeah,
be,
well,
yeah.
that's what they're thinking, but they're also thinking it might just be scribblings that fucking, is just of a madman. But, apparently this
You never know.
this book is meant to be, that will unlock the secrets of, immortality or whatever, you know what I mean? So it's
I mean, if it comes to something like that,
Definitely
there's
almost like the necromancy. you know
it's
what I
Definitely
like
Batman.
yeah, I think you're gonna have a lot of people who just they want something to be true, so they'll just
Like a
hunt it.
philosopher's stone type of thing.
Yeah. I'm just hearing the Voynich manuscript,
Ah, the Voynich.
Never heard of it.
Ah,
Never
yeah.
heard of it.
early
just don't
15th
care enough.
century. I just don't care enough, right? Okay. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
it's those type of things where it's like, yeah, alchemy.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Alchemy, don't get me wrong, like it has its place in the world, because a lot of good things have come from alchemy as well. But generally speaking, like The truth always lies in mathematics.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's where
yeah.
the ancient
I
Greeks
mean,
have always
math.
been right.
They've looked at mathematics now as the universal language of the universe, because
Yep. Because
everything
everything can
is
be written in
relevant.
numbers.
Yeah.
That's also a danger. Like once you start seeing everything in numbers, you start putting numbers on everything.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that is the biggest problem we have in society today. You're not a human being anymore. You're a number.
It reminds me of that
Yeah, well, no,
movie.
it's a bureaucrat's wet dream.
What's
Yeah.
that Jim Carrey movie, The Number 23? You've ever seen that? It's crazy, man.
Which
You
one?
should watch that. The Number 23.
Not seeing that one.
Oh, you should watch it. It's absolutely brilliant. It's a great movie. It's one of probably Jim Carrey's underrated movies. But no, it's definitely like how the number relates to everything within his life. But I think it's so, you know what I mean? It's quite
Yeah.
good.
I mean, numerology in general is a black hole where you don't want to lose yourself in that. Like numerology is, you could almost call it dangerous.
How
There's
in
a lot
what
of
way?
people. Well, there's a lot of people that get into numerology and then they start seeing patterns and then they can't unsee the patterns anymore and they get completely stuck with numbers.
So they go insane through the numerology.
It's a hyperfixation on something.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
They-
But then do you not have to have a degree of ADHD for that or whatever? So would you not already have an
Why are you
underlying
bringing labels into this, man? That's
Well, no, I mean,
so-
would you not already have an underlying problem if you're going to get fixated on
Are you
something?
really calling mathematicians people with brain issues?
No, not at all. I'm just saying, for if you're going to get fixated on something, is that not a problem within itself?
No.
No.
Why would that be like, Dave? You like Resident Evil? Do I consider that a problem?
No. Well, I
Like,
don't
it's
think
that
so.
type of thing. Like,
Well, if you did, then we'd have a problem.
But this is the thing, right? Like, I dislike putting labels on things
Yeah.
so much. Like, I find it so disrespectful for the human soul.
Fair enough.
It's like, oh, you enjoy something. No, that means you have a problem. It's like, why, man? Like,
No.
why does that mean you have a problem?
I'm not saying it is a problem, but
La-
you know.
Labels are useful. I mean, we use it to identify things,
Mm.
but it's like especially in this day and age, we've taken it to an extreme
Yeah.
where everything has to be given a very specific label.
Yeah, that's kind of what I mean. Like, it's more like if someone is obsessed with numerology, they are obsessed with numerology, Maya. That's it. Like, if
Yeah.
they're still a functioning human being, there's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah, but I think that's the point there, right? See if something is a problem, it's got to be a problem for the person at the end of the day.
Exactly.
So see if it's causing them a problem, then it is a problem.
Yeah, like if there's nothing wrong with them, then yeah, like you're just a human being that likes numbers. Like Einstein, for example, great genius. Sure, like he wasn't the most perfect human being, especially with his first wife. But when it comes to Einstein himself, like the guy saw the world in a way that we will never imagine. Does that mean he should have a label on him? No.
Well, he did have a label on him. He's labeled a genius.
Yeah, that's a different label.
But it's
you know what I mean.
very broad. It's a very broad one.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just like labels are subjective at the end of the day. You know what I mean? You can
Yeah,
you can
like
put a
Einstein was
label on
genius
everything.
because that's observable, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, no, to a point. I mean, labels can be objective as well. I mean, you look at a rock,
That's
you
why.
know.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
rock.
Well, theoretically speaking, there would be like biologist stuff that say that it's not just a rock, and then they would have the entire compounds, you know, like the chemists
Yeah,
and
but then,
everything.
but when you get to that point, though, you know, there's like you get there's correct and then there's pedantically correct.
Yeah,
You know.
but that's the thing with doctors as well. Like doctors, at some point, stop seeing the human body as it is. They start just seeing what is inside. Like, oh, there's the bones, the tissue. Like, it's the same kind of thing. Like, at some point, you just become such an expert in such a field that you cannot unsee it anymore.
Yeah, no, I call that the expert's folly because you get people who become so expert at something they forget what it was like to not be an expert.
True. But it's the same with attraction. Like, you hear a lot of these people at some point just don't feel attracted to the human body anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's the same kind of thing. Like, at some point, like they are extremely important to society. Don't get me wrong, but at some point they just lose some sense of themselves. I think that's the best way to put it.
yeah, where they
I
lose
can,
the
I could see that.
yeah. Yeah, I guess so.
But I
But
wouldn't give them a label.
you wouldn't give them a label. Aye.
No.
I mean, it's not fair to label people, right? Sometimes
Like
in
unless
terms
it's
of things.
necessary. But
Yeah.
like people on an asylum should have a
Yeah.
label. Why? Because they're in the asylum
Yeah.
in the first place.
But
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, it's like I said, it's a useful tool for identification, but
yeah.
yeah, when it gets taken to this extreme,
Yeah.
it's
In a way,
it goes.
sorry, I was going to say, in a
No,
way,
go on, go on.
labels dehumify people.
That too, yeah.
So you know, aye, you're absolutely correct. It's not good to
Same with the
assign labels
MBTI,
to
right?
people.
Like in South Korea, they identify with the MBTI so much that they will literally ask you what is your MBTI. They want your 4 alphabetic letters to make sure like whether or not you are compatible to be friends, whether or not you are compatible to be in a relationship, etc., etc.
Right.
Is that like a social credit score or something?
No, the MBTI is something within the West as well. It's some psychological tests that you do based on whether or not you're an introvert, an extrovert, and what type of position suits you, stuff like that. But it's already scientifically proven that it's a complete load of nonsense. And I spoke to like some of my Korean friends about this, and they said they know it's false, but they still do it. Just because before the MBTI scores, they did the blood tests. So whatever blood group you're into, suit with another blood group, right? So you had the A and the O and all of that, the O negative. Like they started grouping themselves into that, and once that passed, they got the MBTI. So there seems to be a trajectory within South Korea where they like giving labels to things in order to find relationships, whether or not you're compatible. Like they probably like astronomy as well before that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, again, I can only go back to the fact that labels are just no good for anybody at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, unless you
No,
need to.
like if I say I disagree. It's useful, just not when taken to the extreme that it's currently at.
Yeah. When it's used to dehumify people,
Yeah.
then that's
No, you mean
when it's-
dehumanize, dehumify.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
like
it's like-
taking
it's
the
like-
air out of somebody in it, or taking the
Yes, it's like
taking the moisture out.
I do like some moisture in me, you know.
Moist. Oh, that is
That's
a
the thing, right? Like
disgusting
whenever
word,
I
isn't
look
it?
at people,
Moist.
like I look at you for example, I see like you're a proper functioning human being. Like you've just had your struggles, but everyone has their struggles. Everyone has their problems growing up, and it's
If-
about what
if
do they
someone-
can't do with it.
If
Hmm.
someone lives a life without trouble, can you really say they've lived?
Yeah, sure. It just depends on how.
Well, no, you got to have some adversity because it's like the only way you really grow, isn't it?
Yeah, well, of
I mean-
course, you
I mean,
don't grow
technically, I mean,
if you
I
get
mean-
everything right.
Yeah, I mean, you've lived a life, but I mean, can you say you've really lived in that, in that sense?
I mean, it
Like, is
depends
it
on what you
worthwhile?
define as a struggle, because there's a lot of people that will not define certain struggles as struggles.
Well, no, I
Mm.
mean, I'm not talking like in an objective sense. I'm just saying, have they, if they've had a struggle. I mean, like you said, it's different for each person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's how you conquer your struggles is what defines you.
Well, that's the
Or
whole point.
defines
it's
your
growth,
What you
strength.
do with it.
Yeah.
That's what you see in the modern ideology, right? Like you see, especially on the far left, instead of using the struggle to grow, they use that struggle to drag everyone else down with them.
Yeah, it's tall poppy syndrome in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, if I get a struggle, I just tend to go with it and then tackle it as I need to.
Yeah, you either go through it or around it,
Yeah.
depending on what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you guys have had your struggles, and
Still do.
yeah.
Still,
You
yeah.
get you from the private conversations we all have, you seem to get through it really well. So hats off
Yeah,
to
you
you
too,
for
man.
doing that.
This year has been a great year for you so far, and you gotta keep it up.
So far, yeah, I think
I will keep making fun
Jim's
of
the
you
next
until
step.
it's gone.
Well, see when I come over there to visit you, I am going to be
Don't sumo
not
wrestle me,
squat.
please.
Yeah, exactly. I won't
I
be
mean, to
sumo
be
wrestling you.
I just set a new PB of 227 kilograms on leg press. So I can probably do it.
So you're like, right, grow another couple of stones so
Yeah,
I can see if I
yeah.
can lift you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but will that protect you from a swift kick to the nuts, though?
Yeah, exactly. Or will that
But is he
protect you if I
flexible
try
enough for
and
that?
roll on you?
Can he get his leg up far enough for that? 'Cause
I
I'm
don't
tall,
think
I'm
so.
not-
I don't think so, to be honest with you.
Well,
I
no, if
struggle
you're
to
not-
get into
no,
my shorts in the
no.
morning.
So if you're saying you're that tall, then you could just use it as a punching bag instead.
Yeah.
What was it? You know the one that the little one that bounces back and forth when you do your little swinging jabs.
Aye, the wee,
I don't know what it is.
punch bag. Yeah, I get what you mean.
It's the thing that boxers use.
Yeah.
Oh, but the thing
Yeah,
is,
the little.
Dave is slow.
Well, look, we're not
Like a
going to
Dutch.
bring my intelligence into things, okay?
I'm not talking about your intelligence. We're
I
talking
know.
about getting points.
I'm making a joke. Of course, I'm making the joke. You know what I
See
mean?
now who's being slow?
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. No, I don't get British humor.
Well, then sarcasm's not for you, Mal. Sarcasm's
I
not
mean,
for
this is
you.
a common thing with Dutch people, right? They never understand British humor. Except for Mr. Bean. Mr. Bean.
To be fair, not a
They
lot
were-
of cultures understand British humour. It's a kind of,
That is
it's a unique humour. In
that's
some
true.
sense, you know, we're
Well,
very.
it's like that with any culture.
Would you
to
not
be
agree,
fair.
Mike? But we're very like self-loathing in ways. You know what I
No,
mean?
No,
To be
not
honest.
loathing. Well, I mean, we become self-loathing, but yeah, we're very Well, we were self-deprecating.
Yeah, definitely. But that's where the sarcasm comes from at the end of the day, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
It's very dry.
very dry. Very dry.
Anyway, that's.
Put
Anything
a bit of
else?
moisture in it.
The
Eh,
moisture. Besides,
That's the
yeah,
lesson of today's episode.
just-
Moisture.
No, moisture, and don't let Dave anywhere near a dehumidifier.
Brilliant. Right, guys. Well, thanks very much for your time again. It's been a good one.
Yeah.
Take it.